Let's talk about Viva Mortis, or Long Live the Dead. How many recurring characters were brought into season 2? Maybe it's because it was early in the development. Maybe it's because they just wanted to reuse some of their brilliant ideas later. So let me know what you think of this episode in the comments down below, and if you like my new intros and outros. And let's just jump into it. One of my favourite cold opens of the show. I almost feel bad for some of the Monarch henchmen after this one.
Better get your game face on, because that's the venture compound over there.
24 explains that most Monarch henchmen don't even make it through their first month.
Why are you wasting your breath on the new meat? 9 out of 10 don't even last a month.
Which, going up against Brock Sampson, sort of makes sense, as 21 just seems a little bit gay at the start of this one.
Sir, are a big gay.
As they attack with a cloud of murder flies giving them cover. Which is maybe a smart idea, probably not, as the Sentry walks into a room full of blood, bodies, and Brock Sampson with a lawnmower. Which I think is a reference to the Peter Jackson film Brain Dead. And if I scrub through and there's a little clip next to it, you'll know. He has no chill, Brock. He is a walking murder machine. As we see Doc as Dr. Frankenstein.
He's alive! Alive, I tell you!
He actually manages to beat death.
The holy grail of super science.
Something that seems to run in the family. His dad's done it, he's done it. Possibly this is one of his greatest feats, though he could be relying a lot on technology left over by his dad, as he tends to do. Venturstein is a little bit pissed off about being brought back to life, as he looks in a mirror a la Robocop. And Brock is left to do what Brock does best, and beats his head in. So we're all left asking, why is his head black? Or African American?
Why is the top of that guy's head black?
Not black, Hank. African American.
And we're introduced to the Groovy Gang.
Hey gang, dig this! Looks like some sort of secret abandoned military base.
And definitely not a group of mass murderers consisting of Ted Bundy, David Russell, Valerie Solanas, and Patty Hearst. And this level of direct parody to the Hanna-Barbera cartoons feels very season 1. I feel like in the later seasons we developed from the parody. We've still got these characters, Action Johnny, but Action Johnny is his own character with his own arcs and his own development in this show somehow. But it's also another example of the show, well, showing off. I didn't get this reference when I was a teenager. Maybe I got a couple of them. Especially the fact that they also, as they reference Hamlet as they come onto scene. Something's rotten in the state of Denmark.
But something's fishy in the state of Denmark.
We very quickly get to know how fucked up these people are. Especially because being out of your box is a privilege.
Being out of your box isn't a right. It's a privilege. Baby, you don't want to go back in your box, do you?
And as I was rewatching this, I was wondering if Sunny is actually getting messages from the Master, or if it is an insane talking dog that just keeps referencing a Master.
You are the hand chosen by the Master.
Because I can see Orpheus' boss also making a talking dog to try and psychologically torment a mass murderer. Seems like it might be something he'd do. Cut back to breakfast at the Venture compound. The boys are eating their alpha mummy, and I think it may be the grossest scene in the show as a fly starts to walk all over Venturestein's eyeballs in a first person point of view.
They're at it. Dude! Fly walking on your eye!
Even talking about it, I can feel my stomach just a little bit turning. As Ted explains to the rest of the Groovy Gang that God is making them investigate this compound, and you don't hate God. You don't want God to think you hate him.
Why do you hate God so much?
I don't hate God, man.
Well, God thinks you hate him.
But Venturestein seems to be struggling a bit at breakfast, especially with Brock, who, well, you know, killed him twice. And I think even Brock starts to feel a bit bad that he is forced to look his actions in the face because, you know, Doc froze and nuked a corpse. Brock bad. Orpheus is throwing a trippy hippie party and once again berates Doc for making a nightmare creature.
Is that man dead?
No.
Once again, Mr. Venture, you cut
decency to the quick.
But it doesn't seem too bad. Venturstein seems more preoccupied by prostitutes.
Prostitutes.
But before he goes to leave, Dr. O says to Brock that he looks like a tapestry of quiet desperation.
Tapestry of quiet desperation.
Another joke that I was too dumb to get on my first few watches, but it's a Pink Floyd reference because
Hanging on in quiet desperation is the English way.
I mean, you could probably write a book about the amount of musical references in the show. The Groovy Gang continue to investigate as Val quotes directly from Slimer's manifesto as,
And that's the problem with men, Patty. The Y gene is just an incomplete X chromosome, dig?
Patty is all Stockholm syndrome up in there,
I hope Ted lets me take a shower soon.
and they realise they've stumbled across a Dracula factory.
Who is Hector Marina?
I think we may have stumbled onto a Dracula factory.
Hank is unable to find African America on a map,
Where the heck did they put African America?
and it was at this point I realised that in their learning beds done by their granddad, they might be using a different word for black people, which makes me worry about what the learning beds have been teaching them. I'm not sure Jonas Sr. was a racist, but they definitely had slightly different attitudes back then. But before the boys can dwell on that too long, they notice lights on in the old manufacturing wing.
Who's down in the old manufacturing wing?
I'll get the flashlight.
Hank's learning bed is currently occupied by Venturstein, who's learning all about labour
Hey! What's good about child labor?
and making shoes. Because at this point, I guess Rusty is trying to build himself an army of undead slaves. Fortunately, the army calls, and they want these guys, especially with C4 packed into their chest.
I suppose their chest cavities could hold quite a lot of C4, certainly.
Having beaten God at his own game, Rusty sets about helping the US military. All the while, Brock is out in the rain, unable to even throw a knife straight.
Come on!
Something about Venturstein has taken him off his game. We also get to see little Jorge talking about how good bonded servitude is.
We're in bondage servitude. See you in a jiffy.
Though Venturstein seems a little bit brain dead and isn't quite following. He's only got one thing on his mind. Prostitute! Brock decides to head over to Orpheus's party and starts to admit that he is maybe lost and stuck in sadness.
Think I might be a tapestry of quiet desperation.
As the Groovy Gang spy Venturstein going past, realizing this isn't just a Dracula factory, it's a Dracula Frankenstein factory.
Correction! Dracula Frankenstein factory.
And Rusty calls Brock midway through the party to ask him to murder like a full gross of people because they need more corpses to reanimate for the US Army.
You'd need like a full gross of dead people.
Right, and where are we gonna get all these dead people?
And Brock is really questioning his life choices as Rusty begs him to help him get dead people.
I'll make it dead people!
Groovy is chatting complete nonsense, really pushing Sonny onto his limit.
Hair needs to be punished, Sonny.
Did you give it a rest, Groove?
Start doing the master's bidding.
The boys stumble in on him and start to chase the hippie off their property because, you know, hippies are bad, man.
A hippie! We better follow it and help!
Well, Brock drinks the Death Vine extract, wondering if this is going to be another Jonestown, but Brock's probably taken harder things than poison before.
Is this some kind of Jonestown deal?
Sonny explains to the rest of the gang that these are the Baja kids, ones he killed years ago but have somehow come back from the dead.
Swears from back in Baja when I was all freaked.
Sonny's freaking out thinking they're a ghost. Ted makes it clear he has no time for this shit, but of course, the boys never died, because the boys never die. Brock starts to shed his trauma,
Guy in a butterfly suit who...
especially about the pointless killing of henchmen, especially when he can see that they're not, you know, bad people, but he still does it anyway.
And I could see it in his eyes that if I let him get away this one time, he'd never come back.
Because it's what he does. Walking, Swedish, murder machine.
But then I also thought, you know, kill him.
And the Master Guru listens to Brock's tale and repeats one in return about the pink dolphin and how he grabbed it and fucked the hot dolphin.
This. Fish. And then I it.
Which makes Brock realise maybe this isn't the place for him. Unfortunately, the extra...
You're an idiot.
Don Rio is a transcendent, multi-dimensional genius, Brock.
And everyone starts to throw up drunk bees. As Brock starts on the path to peace and tripping balls.
Feel like I got a stomach full of drunk bees.
As he really starts to admit that he feels bad, and he starts to see these hot pink dolphins.
I feel a little bad about killing that guy.
And another reference I was too stupid to get when I was a teenager, but becoming a... Wow, I wonder if this show has really influenced my likes in music over the years. But it's a reference to the tattoo David Bowie has on his left calf of a naked man riding a dolphin.
All right.
And they go to confront them.
What are you doing? Yeah, that's our dad's stuff. Get off our property. Sonny, you were right.
But Ted pulls a goddamn gun and the boys use their secret move.
Only one way to find out.
Super runaway!
Super runaway!
Whilst Brock is calmly finding inner peace. He's riding dolphins. The universe is all the same. We are one. We are the universe.
We're all one. We all share the same need for shelter.
A better dolphin shows up.
Whoa, better dolphin.
That Brock Sampson is better than this hippy dippy shit. He is beyond good and evil. Nietzsche reference.
You're beyond good and evil, Superman.
Some people have to get their hands dirty for good, I guess. Or not for good, for bad. It doesn't matter.
You work for the government.
And then he's heading to G-Man Valhalla, and he's better than all this shit.
G-Man Valhalla. There's trim and guns everywhere.
But Brock needs to shut his goddamn third eye, and that unlike these other people, he already has a purpose. A purpose that Uncle Sam gave him.
You're a tool, boy. A tool! Built for a single purpose by the United States of shut your third damn eye for a fucking reason.
As he wakes up from his trip, his purpose is clear. To hunt, to kill, and to protect the boys. Who have tried to retreat from these gun-wielding hippies. Into the clone room, they backed into a corner.
You'll still run away from bullets.
Flipping the switch, revealing the vats of vast clone slugs waiting to be activated. As Ted references the boys from Brazil, a film about hunting Nazis trying to clone Hitler.
You're the f***ing boys from Brazil.
Which again, I think comes up in season 4. Venturstein comes to the rescue, saving the boys from Ted. Using a Hank slug as a surfboard, he's able to take out a certain devil dog before Brock shows up to finish the job. Breaking Ted's hand. And then using the gun still in his hand to kill Sonny. Which is not the last time we see Brock pull off this move. God, could you imagine what a peaceful Brock would be like? Brock has one purpose, to be a badass killer, maybe a bodyguard. The girls manage to run away as Sonny quotes Catch-22 and dies as Brock exits his murderous Viking rage, seeing the boys coiled up and shivering. Doc's been tracking the radioactivity of Venturstein and stumbles in on this horrible mess.
What's going on here?
He proceeds to shout at the boys to get them out of their shock,
Boys, get up. Yes, sir.
saying that they've ruined their Christmas present, explaining that the clones were going to be a special gift for them, who would do whatever they want, their chores, run and play games, and, you know, who doesn't want their own army of clones?
A whole big army of yous ready to think you're the coolest and do your chores.
And of course this works because our boys are beautifully naive. They say he's the best dad ever.
Dad, you're the best dad ever. Yes, I am.
And as the episode ends, Brock gives Doc one of the filthiest looks as he goes to unplug the clone vat machines to turn them into undead soldiers for the US Army. But I think he still uses some of the slugs as undead clones for the US Army later anyway. And in our after credit scene, Brock and Venturstein have made up.
You got it, V-Stein. That's the game plan.
They are all go Team Venture, and they've gone to get prostitutes because they've grown to be friends. And Venture Stein's even made a shoe for them, which...
No, man, no, they're not gonna give it up for a shoe you made out of a dog.
Which probably isn't going to work, but Brock doesn't even get mad at Venture Stein when he punches a hole through the roof of Adrian's car. Which he loves more than probably any woman he's ever slept with. Brock good! And it's another great episode of season 2. And I know I've done some rewatches where I've skipped the first 2 seasons, but I don't think it's ever going to happen again. I love going through season 2 recently. So let me know what your favourite episodes of season 2 and your favourite moments from this episode are in the comments down below.
It's time to say I'll be the same.